All right, we are live. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody. How about getting some free money for school? Well, this is our very special Beat the Student Loan Trap presented to you by the Michigan Chronicle. We're going to have some great conversation today. Andre Ash, a moderator for this conversation. We thank you for joining us. We're looking forward to bringing you a great discussion about the resources available for students and to fund also higher education, higher learning without going broke. And nobody wants to be broke. So before we begin, I want to quickly highlight the Michigan Chronicle TCF Bank Students Wire for Achievement and Greatness Scholarship Awards, or the S.W.A.G Awards, which we call them, which are now accepting applications. We've got a deadline coming up soon, so you don't want to miss that. Now in its 6th year, this unique partnership between the Michigan Chronicle and TCF Bank has resulted in more than $750,000. How about that? Money and scholarships going to Detroit students. And this year's top award is $25,000. So you're definitely going to want to get in all this. And the minimum GPA for Detroit students is 2.25. So the deadline to apply is April 9th. Again, that's April 9th. Go to michiganchronicle.com for more information. But I want to thank our S.W.A.G scholarship partners at TCF Bank for making these scholarships possible. Also, a very special thank you goes to Latrice McClendon, the Senior Vice President and Director of Community Relations at TCF, who remains on the front lines in the community and also ensuring that Detroiters have a wealth of resources and support through programs such as S.W.A.G and so many more. So here at the Michigan Chronicle and this partnership with TCF Bank, that's just one of the resources that are available. And tonight I want to talk about those resources that are available for Detroit students, and we'll get into that in just a moment. So thank you for your continued support and support of the S.W.A.G Awards. Now to our esteemed panel, welcome to each of you. You can see them here on your screen. And look, if you're watching this now and you know of a Detroit student who could benefit from this resource to pursue higher education and to be helped by doing so financially, share this post onto your Facebook Live page right now. Is where we're broadcasting at the Michigan Chronicle. So to our guests, please take a brief moment to introduce yourselves and to tell us about how you can help today's student find the resources to fund higher education. We'll begin with John Johnson. Thanks for joining us this evening.
Hey, good afternoon. Happy Sunday, everyone. My name is John Johnson. I am the college coordinator at University Prep Art and Design in Detroit, Michigan. I've been in this position for over 6 years now. Wow, time really flies. I am also a recipient of the S.W.A.G Influential Educator of the Year as of last year. So thank you, Michigan Chronicle and TCF Bank for that honor. I'm also a fellow for the San Diego State University's Fellows Program in Advocacy and Equity in College Counseling for high school students. And I'm just very happy to be here. I hope to be able to share some information, but also learn some information as well too. So thank you for this invite.
All right, we'll now head over to Gwen Thomas, who joins us this evening.
Hi, thank you, Andre. I'm Gwen Thomas. I'm the author of The Parent's Smart Guide to Sending Your Kids to College Without Going Broke. I'm also the founder of a program called the Black Friday Scholarship Boot Camp. We're very proud of that program. We have it every year, the day following Thanksgiving. And our mantra is, while America's out shopping for Christmas gifts, our students are shopping for scholarships. We're trying to take the debt out of college. And we also have a program called Pursuing Your Dreams Scholarship Boot Camp that's held across the globe.
All right, and we now head over to Janae Maxey, who joins us this evening.
Hi, everyone. My name is Johnny Maxey. I am a senior at the University of Michigan Ross School of Business. I am also a former S.W.A.G scholar, so this is very dear to my heart. And I am also the founder and CEO of Maxey Real Estate Investments. It's an investment company in Detroit that focuses on revitalizing inner city neighborhoods without displacing the community. Super excited to talk with you all today.
I love it. Well, let's talk about it, because first I want to start off with Gwen, because I mean, as we have this conversation about resources being available to students financially, what are the options available to pay for school without going into debt? And I know you know a little bit something about that.
Yeah, we've now helped students win about $17 million in scholarships. Well, the major thing is that, students and families are not informed about how to pay for college. And so they divert to the old standard of getting loans to pay for college. And so what is available is going to depend on what the family's income is. And so for families, for example, with a combined income of $50,000, they will qualify. Their student will qualify for a Pell Grant. And the maximum amount that a student is able to receive is about $6,500 for the Pell Grant. And so depending on how much they make, they will determine a calculation of how much they'll get from that Pell Grant. But students whose families make under $20,000 most of the time will get a full $6,500 Pell Grant. Now, the other options that I normally promote is scholarships. There are opportunities for students to get as many scholarships as possible, but there's work. And so for those students who have, before I talk about scholarships, for those students who have a 3.6 grade point average and who's done well on the ACT and SAT, and whose families make anywhere from $90,000 to $160,000, are able to go to many of our elite schools: Harvard, Georgetown, Georgetown, Yale, Princeton, and some of those major ones. That is available to them. And so I tell families all the time, take advantage, because those are life-changing institutions. I think it's a part of reparations. That's in my personal opinion. But the second option, of course, is for families to get on the trajectory to pay for college with scholarships. Now, it's a lot of work. Everybody is not going to do it. Some families are going to, think, okay, well, we're going to have the money, and they end up not being able to, pay for college. And so, we want them to understand that there are scholarships almost for every discipline that the student wants to go into, that field of study or that industry. There are scholarships for leadership, community engagement. And so what I advocate normally is to making sure parents are there with their students to help them create a plan. Families need to have a bold conversation with their students as early as possible to say how much money we have to contribute to their college education. So in my book, of course,
well, Gwen, I want to get
plan.
Yeah, well, Gwen, I want to get more into the opportunities available, and certainly they're out there. But John, as a college coordinator, you know something about perhaps barriers that prevent students from applying. What are some of those barriers that prevent the young person from being able to travel that road down, applying for college scholarships, the money that's out there, as Gwen says? What are the barriers?
Well, I think it goes back to a portion that Gwen was mentioning, or whatever is like, you have to have an honest conversation about what college is or whatever. And it is a process that starts pretty much in your freshman year, right? And so once you start freshman year, you need to start thinking about going to college and how are you going to get there. And the reason I say freshman year is because that's the year that scholarships, colleges, internships, all are going to start looking at your grades, and that's how they determine if they're going to invest in you. And if you don't have the grades to meet that investment, they will not invest into providing you or supporting your education. So it's very important that in freshman year, you are preparing yourself for college. You are having conversations and doing things and getting involved in activities that is going to lead and result to you being successful in applying to colleges and being successful in going to college, right? So you want to make sure that you get the grades. You want to make sure that you're participating in community service. You want to make sure that you're taking leadership initiatives while you're still in high school. But in addition to that or whatever, once you have done all of those things or whatever, my big thing is like loans is like the last ditch option, right? But there, as Gwen said, there's tons of scholarship opportunities, and specifically for like students in the city of Detroit. The Detroit Promise is a great resource that students should take advantage of. If you are a citizen in the city of Detroit and you graduate from a high school in the city of Detroit, it should be a requirement that you apply to that Detroit Promise scholarship, right? There's also things such as the TIP, the Tuition Incentive Program. There's the Michigan Education Trust Program or whatever. And so if you know your student, or you as a student are thinking about college, you may want to start looking into the Michigan Education Trust. I think that is a resource that goes underutilized. And then there are also like smaller scholarships like Raise Me, which is like micro scholarships your students can start collecting even in their freshman year, right? And then there's like apps and things of that sort, like Scholarship Hour and things. You have to like make sure that you are applying to these scholarships in a timely manner and start thinking about college early. I think we have this reactive model where we wait till our students get into their senior year and we're saying, hey, what about college, right? Well,
yeah, what about now?
Well, now you should say freshman year when they start, hey, you thinking about college, and have the conversation.
Well, we know a former recipient of the S.W.A.G Awards knows something about when to apply for college scholarships and also just navigating that whole process. How was it for you being able to, obtain the financial wherewithal and navigating that process for the financial opportunity that was availed to you?
Yeah, so I went to Cass Technical High School CT class of 2016. But
Yeah, you gotta shout that out.
Gotta shout it out. Basically, what happened after my junior year at high school, that summer, leading into my senior year, I was really dedicated to researching different scholarship opportunities that was available. So my senior year in high school, it was like a job for me. And I also took the college. We had college classes as well at Cass Tech. So it was like school, college classes, and then scholarship prep. Applying for like a minimum of five scholarships each 2 weeks. I had a class with Dr. James and we had to fill out 1,000 scholarships. A lot of people cheated their way through it. I actually did it because I knew that I wanted to go to college for free, because I knew it was available for me if I actually put in the effort to find all of these different scholarships. So from using Google, talking to my counselor constantly, and just networking with different professionals that will come into Cass Tech, I was able to apply for a lot of scholarships and go to University of Michigan for free. So you have to be committed and dedicated and really want to go to college for free.
Absolutely, that is so cool. And I want to invite people who are watching us live right now through our Michigan Chronicle Facebook page to share this post. Perhaps you know a Detroit student who could be a part of what we're providing, and that is information and also being a resource to students as well. Again, you can go to michigan.com or michiganchronicle.com/S.W.A.G Awards to apply. The deadline is April 9th. Get in on the opportunity for college scholarships brought to you by Michigan Chronicle and TCF Bank. That's just one of the resources, but there are many resources that are out there where money is available. And if you have a question, you'd like to submit your comments and questions to us, you can do so right now live in our Facebook chat box. We'll read them to you live here on the stream. Now, the next question I want to get to is, how do you select the best education or the best educational institution based on affordability and based on career goals? And that includes trade schools as well. How do you make that selection and to go into the ideal school that you want to go to, and then balancing that with affordability for that particular institution? Gwen?
So one of the things that I talk to students about is it's called a value proposition. And so we have to make sure students understand that they need to go into fields that are sustainable. Far too many of our colleges are still offering offering majors where there are just not enough jobs to support students studying those fields. So I tell students, sit down, number one, and do the math, and then figure out how much that education is going to cost. You certainly don't want to pay $100,000 for a career that's going to generate $40,000 in the average salary. And so the hard questions you want to ask before making that decision: who is a student that graduated from this institution in my field of study who looks like me? Then you find out how committed they are to diversity, to making sure that student goes all the way through the process, not just graduating, but landing a great job where that allows them to get a more than sustainable living wage. And so that is what they want to look at: the affordability of the college and the return on investment. That is crucial. And so, for example, if your goal is to, go into engineering, you want to find out who the relationships, what corporations does the university have with what relationships they have with corporations, and how many of those students are landing positions at that company. So that's basically what I make sure students understand. Look at the full picture of affordability and what the return on investment will look like.
Janae, was that something that you considered as well in choosing your school of choice, U of M?
Yes, definitely. Everything I've done since I've been in high school has been very strategic. So when picking a university, I looked at the alumni network, where the alumni happen to be in the world, the affordability metrics, my values in terms of who I am as a person, how I want to grow as a professional, and just different opportunities that the schools has. So like University of Michigan, they have study abroad. And I knew that I would be able to get financing to travel abroad. They also have a great alumni network. The Ross Business School is the top in the world. So just all of these different things that I wanted to consider before picking and committing to a university. So it was really about my future, where I saw myself like in the future now. So it worked out well, but it was a process for sure.
They also have a good athletic team as well, and you're right on time and right on cue for championing that M logo in time for tomorrow's game. But anyhow,
can I add to that? First, go green, go white, and second, I really wanted to reiterate some things that both my fellow panelists just said or whatever. And I think it's important that we understand that we start sending our students to schools that graduate our students, right? So like it's important and it's fun that we get accepted or whatever, but the long-term goal is for me to graduate, right? I don't want to go to a school where I'm just going for 2 years and then I don't graduate with a degree in hand, because I think that also leads to this mounting debt that students have. They go for 2 or 3 years, they don't graduate, and then they're back getting into these jobs that does not, pay that debt down or whatever. You're kind of stuck in this debt. So first is make sure that you want to look at these graduation rates at some of these institutions. And if the graduation rate is like 5%, that might not be a school that's the best match or fit for you or whatever. And even if that's your dream school, look at what those graduation rates. You can even break it down and see what the graduation rates are for African Americans, first generation, students from Detroit, wherever. Look at that to see if that's a fit. Second, you want to also make sure that if you are paying $20,000 to go to this school, you want to make sure that at least $5,000 to $10,000 of that money is coming back into resources and programs that are going to allow you to be successful. So if you are a first generation minority student who is from Detroit, you might want to look into having some resources such as a math resource room, a minority and racial ethnic department that really focus on equity for students of minority backgrounds. You might want to also have programs that help students transition. So if I'm a student from Detroit who comes from a predominantly African-American background, are there resources that help me transition so that I'm not alienated once I get into the institution, right? Are there like programs that help with writing? Are there programs that are going to allow me to be successful? Because if I'm paying $20,000 and all $20,000 of that dollars is going to a professor so that he can do research and he becomes this well-renowned, professor and researcher or whatever, that's not helping me. Right. I want to see resources. I want to see my dollars go to work for me. And, are there internships and things of that sort? So those are some things you might want to also investigate as well, too. Where is my money going when I pay that $20,000?
John, you touched on something, and I want to get to it in just a moment. But first, again, if anyone who is watching our special stream, and if you have questions and comments that you'd like to submit to us in our Facebook Live chat box here at the Michigan Chronicle, please do so. We'll bring up your questions live, and we'll address them. This is an opportunity where we're being informative, but also finding solution-based and getting those results over to our Detroit students as well. One of the issues that you touched on was writing and perhaps getting some writing classes because we talk or hear a lot about essays being key when it comes to applying for college as well and scholarships. Gwen, what is it that students should know when it comes to writing that essay and applying for college scholarships?
Well, a lot of our students of color are intimidated by the process of writing scholarships and writing essays. And so I first tell them to think about being authentic in their feelings and their ideas. For example, over the last year, there's been a lot of issues that they probably have a position, they have feelings about. And so a lot of the essays now are going to be geared toward COVID-19. They'll be asking them their opinions on Black Lives Matter. So I encourage students, even before they start the essay writing, is to start writing out some of their ideas about how they felt about COVID, how they were affected. Keep a journal and just write. And then to write about Black Lives Matter, how they felt about that. And so the other part of the editorial part comes later. But I tell students, try to write and just talk about how you authentically feel. And we want to teach them how to create their narrative and who they are as a person. Those are the typical questions that are on the scholarships. And a lot of times students, they don't look at it that way. They think it's going to be some, very difficult question, but it's all about them and their passion and their goals and their dreams. And so that's what we teach students, how to write authentically, and then we can work with them from that point on how to clean up the grammatical errors and that kind of thing, but put it down, passionately about how they feel.
And to add to that,
Janae, how was that process for you? Did you have to go through that? And what will be your advice to a student who's traveling that same role of writing that college essay or essay for scholarship? How was that learning life for you? Can you relate?
Yes, I can for sure. And I also want to touch on something that John said earlier about looking at the supportive resources that each university have. So like a lot of those supportive resources are called learning communities within universities. So like University of Michigan, one of the things I looked at was minority learning communities. It was a learning community within Ross that helps minorities get into Ross. So that was like very important for me, but also leveraging when you're in high school, you can reach out to current students at the colleges and speak to them. So I spoke to a lot of African American students at Michigan to hear about their experiences, because like I had to be for sure I wanted to go to whichever college I picked because it's such a life determining decision. But for the essays, I took the approach of telling an authentic story. I want the readers to enjoy reading my essay, right? But I also want to tell a story that's authentic, that's true, but that also, of course, you must answer the questions. So like, don't get carried away. Make sure you answer the questions. So like with all of my essays, I would have like 3 proofreaders, and then like all of that feedback, it catered to how the essay grew, or I erased a lot of stuff, started over. But that's why it's very important to start early. So like if you have to start from scratch again, don't get, and a lot of times, so this is before I use Google Docs, I use Microsoft Word a lot. So a lot of my essays, I did the Bill Gates essay, didn't get it, but I wrote them in the summertime, right? On Microsoft Word. By September, I don't know what happened. My computer crashed. I didn't have it anymore. So I had to start over, and that was 7 essays. So just know, make sure you use Google Docs. So like you can always save your essays, but do not get discouraged. Like do not get discouraged, and just like tell an authentic story, but also have people to proofread your essays as well.
And also, again, get Google Docs to save those documents.
Can I add to that as
again,
well?
Absolutely. John, join in, but I want to remind people who are watching again, this is an information session, but also a resource session as well. And when we talk about providing resources, the Michigan Chronicle is doing just that. Our partnership with TCF Bank is giving away $100,000 to Detroit students. So to learn more information on how you can apply, go to michiganchronicle.com/SWAG awards. Again, that's michiganchronicle.com/SWAG awards. And if you have questions about college scholarships and how to apply, write us right now in our chat box. We're willing to answer your questions or ideas that you may have when it comes to applying for college scholarships. John, I know you were going to jump in there.
Yeah, and just to kind of like, again, kind of sum up and also kind of add to the things that the ladies mentioned, is that one, you have to have a positive self-appraisal of yourself, right? And the reason for that is because I think sometimes our students do some dynamic things and they don't think that that's a positive thing, right? Or something that they can mention on the essay. I had a student who was pretty much raising her brothers and sister while her parents worked 2 or 3 jobs, right? She was doing the cooking. She was making sure her brothers and sisters got to school. She was making sure they did their homework. And on top of, you know, doing her own work and also being a 4.0 student or whatever. That's a beautiful story to tell. And that's something that's very positive and that looks really good on the college essay. So you have to have that positive self-appraisal about yourself. And so it's important that when as educators or even in the home as parents or whatever, that you make sure that your students understand the positive things that they are committed. I think it goes back to, as Gwen had mentioned before, write down some of the things you do. And it's just maybe just writing down what you do on an everyday basis. I, on an everyday basis, make sure that my brother and sister gets to school. I make sure that I check their homework. I make sure that I cook dinner. Write those things down or whatever. And when you really read that and look at that, you see that you have these leadership skills that really transitions well on a scholarship essay.
And students. All right. Are we there now? All right. It's okay, little tech issues, but this is 21st century technology that we're in. But so, Gwen, you wrote the book on the Parent Smart Guide. And what is it that parents and students can learn when it comes to applying for college? Because what inspired you to make it? I know you mentioned it off at the top, but certainly people who are tuning in now, they can learn a wealth of knowledge and information with some of the steps that you took.
Well, you know, it was some time ago, my son was on his trajectory to go to college. He was in high school, and I did all those things that we've been talking about, making sure he was engaged in community service, engaged in leadership programs. And, you know, I don't believe in students, you know, getting the summer brain drain. So I had him engaged in programs all through the summer. And so when it was time for him to go to college, I mean, when we were looking at that second semester, 11th grade, it was time to get serious, and we created a plan. And so we compiled a list, and I talk about this in my book. We compiled a list. And so then my dining room table became Scholarship Central, and we started organizing the scholarships, and he was able to, you know, apply. And a lot of times, you know, Jade said, you know, you have a couple of readers. He would give me the scholarship, and I would say, you're not answering the question. And then it would be a red mark. Oh, he hated me. That last year, I was like, no, do this over. But in the end, he grew to understand what I was talking about and to tell his story and make sure it was clear. And so that was the main part of the process is being organized, and tell everybody that you're graduating. I'm looking for scholarships, and people will start sending scholarships, and you apply. And so, in my book, I talk about it. It wasn't just one scholarship. My son did 100 scholarships. And he applied, and some he didn't get the first year, but he also applied the second year. And they remember sometime when students apply and they don't win the first time. And so in the end, he ended up winning $500,000 in scholarships. And these were direct scholarships. A lot of times people,
Wow.
You hear them, they win $2 or $3 million in scholarships. We're talking about the ones you're going to use. Because a lot of times, they're not using those scholarships. So we normally account only the ones that they use. And so that end up paying for his undergrad degree at Morehouse, his grad degree at Johns Hopkins, and travel abroad to more than 30 countries. And so then I started getting calls and saying, listen, can you help my student? Can you help my son? Can you help my daughter? And then that's how we created the nonprofit. We started and actually, it's now been 10 years ago, we actually started the nonprofit and just started having coffee with families who had students that were heading to college. And now we do this program year round. Yeah.
I love it. And these are the type of stories that our viewers need to hear about, from Janae to what you've gone through with your son, Gwen, and then to helping others. And so that's what we want to do. We want to be a resource to help students get into college and get the resources that are available. And again, Michigan Chronicle and TCI Bank, get your free money to go to school, because even we're giving away money, $100,000, $25,000 to the top student, and you can apply because the deadline is April 9th. So for more information, go to michiganchronicle.com/SWAG awards. John, I want to ask you this question. What is the biggest missteps that you see when it comes to parents and students? What are the biggest missteps you see when it comes to them preparing for higher education? What are the missteps that you see?
Again, I think it's two things or whatever, and it goes back to, as I said before, one is that I think we have this reactive model where we wait until our student gets into their senior year and we say, hey, it's time to start thinking about college. No, we have to start thinking about college in their freshman year. And the reason why that's so important, as I said before, is because that's when colleges are going to start looking at your grades, and they're going to start looking at the activities and things that you're doing in order to determine if you're admissible to their school. And if you start off in your freshman year and you had, all D's, C's, and F's, it's kind of hard to pick yourself back up, right? And so you're spending the rest of your high school tenure trying to get your grades up so that you can get into this choice school that you have for yourself. So start that conversation early and start the college going process early. Second thing is, I think you have to look at when you're applying to college as a process, right? So you first start off with you applying to college. Second, you're applying for financial aid, you're applying to scholarships, and then you're doing the transitional work so that you can transition to college. What I see is a lot of students, like, they spend all of their time applying to like 100 and 200 colleges. You can only go to one college, right? So, I think it's important that you research and really narrow down these colleges that you're interested in going to, and choosing those that narrow it down to maybe 8 or 9 schools that you apply to, and then narrow it down to your choice school or whatever. What happens is you've applied to 100 colleges on top of being in your senior year and also working and also taking care of home and all this other stuff that you have going on in your senior year. By the time it's time to apply to scholarships, you're like, I'm tired of applying to scholarships. I'm tired of doing essays. I'm tired of this. I'm just going to take the loans, right? Because you burnt yourself out. No, apply to maybe 8 or 9 schools and spend the rest of that time.
Wait a minute, John. So you're saying that it's not ideal to apply for 100, 150 schools and see, who's going to choose me. It's about being strategic.
Exactly. Now apply for 100 and 200 scholarships. Yes, that's ideal, right? because you can win all of those scholarships, and and there's a chance you're not going to win all of those scholarships or whatever. So being, like you said, being strategic, doing your research early so that you know which colleges you have a chance of getting to. Do like a maybe 2 match, 2 safety and 2 reach schools or something along those lines, or 3 of each of those, right? And then when you get accepted to those schools, narrowing it down to like which school is going to give you the best financial, which is going to give you the best fit, which one has the best program and things of that sort. And then spend more of your time applying to these scholarships so that you're not burnt out on essays and everything because you filled out 100 college application essays, right? Yeah, because senior year is extremely busy.
I want to get to Janae for a second because, how was that process like for you? I hate to put you on the spot, but was it strategic in a way where you knew where you wanted to go first strategically, and then applying for those scholarships afterwards according to the schools that you had narrowed down? How was that process like for you?
So I started applying for scholarships. So that was kind of the first thing I did. I knew I was going to college. So I started applying for scholarships. If they had some like the summer before my senior year, that's when I started like looking. And if it was open, I started applying. But even if it wasn't, a lot of times they have the prompts. So like I wrote the essays, and then when the scholarships opened up, okay, I submitted it because the essays were done already. But for applying for universities, I always wanted to go out of state, like since I was in elementary school. However, I knew that because I wanted to do business and I knew long term I wanted to be an entrepreneur, didn't know what I wanted to like be an entrepreneur in, but I knew that I wanted to do business 100%, that I was more than likely going to go to the University of Michigan. Didn't want to admit it, like, but I applied. This is the only in-state school I applied to. And then all of the other schools, maybe 5 other schools, were out of state. But however, like I didn't really have like they had great business schools as well. But I kind of knew I was going to the University of Michigan. I did a lot of them early action because like early decision you have to go there if you get accepted, but early action you have the option to still not go. But I did all of the applications early, and yeah, but like what I was able to do with different aspects of, because I applied to FAMU. I love Florida. Like I also like HBCUs, but like I would like everything is like a strategy. Like I got accepted to FAMU. They gave me like my scholarship package. It wasn't up to par. Like so, I negotiate. I try to negotiate with like the other schools. So you can always like leverage, negotiate, right? I'm doing this as a high schooler, like so like so many things you can do, but do not like overstretch yourself. Do not apply to too many colleges. The focus need to be scholarships. Figure out what you want to do, which schools have effective programs where you actually see yourself, and then apply to those schools. But the main focus need to be scholarships.
We'll be getting to our comments from our Facebook chat box in just a moment. But before we do, I want to ask Gwen this question because I think it's very key and important as well. How do we engage C-level students, if you will, when it comes to going to college or even trade school, but they're not automatically going to get the big university scholarships, if you will? How do we engage those students as well?
Well, a lot of that is educating them on the process. Again, I mentioned earlier, a lot of our students are intimidated by the process. And one of the things we try to do, and I'm sure John does the same thing, we have to counsel. We have to counsel those students in believing that, you know, going to college is life-changing. Going through a vocational program is life-changing. It will improve the value of their life. They will make money. We have to break it down so they can see the end outcome. And so, you know, that's what we have to share with them. And so they need coaching. You know, will that 2.25 student, you know, take the initiative sometimes to complete the essay? They don't sometimes have the confidence to do that. And so we try to coach them on, you know, how to frame, you know, their narrative, how to talk about it. And so it's a tough thing to do. And so, you know, it's important. I'm happy to see TCF offering the scholarship to students that are the average C student. But it takes encouragement. It takes parents to say, yes, you can do this. This is a great opportunity for students right now, because those are the students, especially during this pandemic, who need it the most, because many of their families are suffering financially.
Yeah. Let's also now get to some of our comments from Facebook at our Michigan Chronicle page. And again, if you have questions about college scholarships, send them to us right now. We'll read them and we'll get them answered as best way as we can. We have this one comment now from Tara Renee. She says, my son is African American in Detroit, 4.2 GPA, all right, but he has not declared a major, having a hard time finding scholarships because most are major Pacific. Any ideas, John?
There are tons of scholarships that does not require like specifically your major. I would start with like maybe downloading the app. I believe it's called Scholly. Like you can download that on like your smartphone, and there are tons of scholarships. That 4.2 GPA just sounds beautiful to me. Like I would love to work with your student. Secondly, make sure that they have completed the Detroit Promise, because right off back, they should qualify for the 4-year scholarship that will pay their tuition and fees at pretty much any of the public universities in the state of Michigan. So make sure he, she, whoever your student is, he fill out that scholarship. That is a great opportunity. Make sure that your student also qualifies for TIP as well too. Make sure your student is applying to the S.W.A.G scholarship. I actually probably don't want to say that because I know some of my students will be applying to the S.W.A.G scholarship and I don't want the competition, but make sure your student applies to the S.W.A.G scholarship.
Sign up for the S.W.A.G scholarship.
3, make sure your student reads Gwen's book, because that is an excellent book. I share that with some of my parents pretty much every year. I got like a stack of them that I have shared with my parents over the years, and they get a lot out of that book. But just stay engaged in the process. There are tons of scholarships that come out, daily, weekly, and just keep Googling those opportunities. And then also definitely make sure that your student goes to, like if your student is going to U of M, Michigan State, Central, wherever, make sure that they go to that school's website and look under scholarships to see what scholarship he qualifies for. Because like COVID happened and like a lot of like SAT scores were like thrown out, with a 4.2 GPA, he should qualify for just automatically a lot of scholarships. And last but not least, make sure your student also applies to some top tier Ivy League schools as well too. With a 4.2 GPA, your student should not be applying to like Eastern, and Eastern is not a bad school. It's a great school. Your student needs to be applying to like a U of M, a Harvard, a Yale. He needs to be doing some reach schools as well too, because as Gwen mentioned, like the reason I feel like our students don't apply is because they don't think they can get in, nor do they feel like they have the money to go there. But those schools provide the most money to our students, right? Because they don't necessarily they're looking for like first generation students or students from low income backgrounds or students from these various, components or whatever. So make sure your student applies to these top tier schools as well too, because they have a lot of money to give away.
I was going to say 4.2 GPA. I mean, he shouldn't have a problem getting anywhere. But she asks, major Pacific, like, is that a challenge, or what should the mother and parent, the parent and son do there? Gwen.
If I could just piggyback a little bit on John, what he said. First of all, and those Ivy League schools, those elite schools, the benchmark now is about $160,000. So that's not really low income. So they are able to go to college for free. So make sure that they apply to those colleges. Now, for my students who contact me, and I work with those students, and they are heading in there, or they're in their senior year, I say, look, you've got to declare a major. You've got to figure this out, because you're going to miss out on scholarship opportunities. You can always change your major later, but we don't want you to waste any money. But the point I'm making is, it's time to make a decision, and because you want to be able to apply for those scholarships. So 4.2 grade point average, he's done the work. Now it's time to collect the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, and those are scholarships. And if he's not winning the scholarships, we've got to find out what the problem is. And sometimes, as simple as what Janae said earlier, sometimes people go all the way around, the student doesn't answer the question. And so, and there's an art to writing and winning scholarships. And so, you know, that's one of the things we teach students. Once they understand that it's about their narrative and their goals and dreams and all of those things become germane, and all they do is cut and paste after that. When you
well, you know what? You said that he's done the work, but maybe just a little bit more work, because for you, Janae, you know, you knew what you wanted to do, and talk to us about how beneficial it was for you knowing what you wanted to go into major-wise, and how those scholarships just came through by the time you enter that scholarship application phase. Once we get to you, we've got another question coming in from Facebook.
All right, so I downloaded Scholly app my senior year in high school and leveraged that a lot. But a lot of the scholarships that I applied to was not major specific. And if it was more so like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? What are your aspirations? I never really, like, in those aspects, I would talk about how I want to be a future business executive. I didn't really know, like, I just knew I wanted to do business. That was literally it. I didn't know like what aspect or anything. I was like, your son can look at, I received like fraternity scholarships, sorority scholarships. I never and they knew I didn't want to like join the sorority, but I still received some scholarships from it. A lot of church scholarships in Detroit. I applied to, I received, and then what else? A lot of like different organizations within the city. So I really talked to like different adults and like counselors within Tech to like see the scholarships that I wouldn't see just looking at scholarships on Google, but like that was like specific to Detroit in the community. And like that's because the pool of students applying to those scholarships it's not that many. So I would say like leverage that as well. But yeah, and download Scholly too.
Yeah. We're now about to take some more questions from Facebook. And look, we only have about 13 more minutes for our live stream here. So if you have a question and you want to get in, we're speaking to some great people, part of our panel right now. Please get your questions into our Facebook chat at the Michigan Chronicle. We'll take your questions. We've got another 11 minutes to go in our live stream here. But our next question comes from Randy Bullock. How does one get a merit scholarship? John, take it away.
For most colleges, it's pretty much embedded into the student's application, right? So when you fill out the application and you put, I have a 4.2 GPA and billion on the SAT, right? Like that automatically qualifies you for like specific, merit-based scholarships that the school has to offer. In other cases where there may be like additional application that you would need to fill out. So you would just go to the school's website and their scholarship page or whatever, and it'll tell you all of the different scholarships that your student that you can qualify for. Then you just go on there and then you just apply to those specific scholarships. Again, those scholarships are typically, they're merit-based and they're very competitive or whatever. So you want to make sure that you put your best foot forward. You want to make sure that the essay is together. You want to make sure somebody reads over that essay. And then you also want to just make sure that, again, that your student is presenting their best self and has a positive self-appraisal of themselves as well, too.
So if I can add one thing on that merit scholarship. So one of the things that a lot of our students miss out on the merit scholarships, because those scholarships, they have deadlines. Those scholarships are out and you need to apply for them like October, November. And so I hear from a lot of students who, have 4.2 grade point average or whatever, and they're looking for merit scholarships in January. They've already missed the deadline. So if you have a student that's a high achiever with a 3.8 or 4.2 grade point average, they need to, number one, their scholarships, all the applications do have some of the merit, but you still, like John said, you have to go back. There are additional merit scholarships that sometimes students have to still apply for separate from admission. And like I said, those are normally awarded, they're posted by like October, you can research them before then, but they're normally have deadlines like, October 15th, October 30th, and they're awarded by, January 1st.
Yeah. So just a little housekeeping. Again, we've got 10 minutes until we end everything here. So please, if you're watching this right now and you know a Detroit student who could really take part in a lot of this wealth of information, and also the opportunity for scholarships, which are available in many ways. It just takes the research, including the one being brought to you by the Michigan Chronicle and TCF Bank. We're giving away $100,000 to Detroit students. Just go to our website at michiganchronicle.com/SWAG awards. Now, more housekeeping just for people who are tuning in and joining us right now. We are talking to Gwen Thomas, educator, author of social, and also social entrepreneur of the scholarship. She's known as the Scholarship Mom. And just by listening to her, you will see that she has definitely done her work. Also, we have John Johnson, college transitions counselor for the University Prep Art and Design. We also have Janae Maxey, is the SWAG recipient of our scholarship, also scholarship alum, and also at the University of Michigan. She is one of our SWAG winners from last year. So that is who we have on our live stream now. And again, if you have questions on how you can get into applying for scholarships and the financial opportunities being made available to college, just go to our website, michiganchronicle.com, to apply for the SWAG Awards and also to present your questions and comments to us on Facebook Live right now. So before we wrap up here, Janae, once again, what would be the best advice you would give to a young person in your position, who's in your position in high school, and they're trying to figure out what are the next steps? What says you?
Yes. So if a student's a freshman in high school or in 8th grade, take what everyone was saying to her in terms of like your high school years or your prime years. Treat 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade. Make sure you get good grades. Make sure you're active on campus. But like when it's your senior year, like I'm an athlete. Well, not anymore, but in high school I was. So we have this saying, being early is one time. So I implement that in like all aspects of my life, and it has helped me. So like start doing things early. Do your research early. Apply early. Do your essays early. But because like if you do things early, it's not gonna like back up on you. You're not gonna have to rush it because it's already in motion. So try to implement that. That's very important. But also talk with your parents about the FAFSA. A lot of people don't know what the FAFSA is. A lot of people do not meet the deadline, but filling out that is federal. I do not know what it means, but I know you have to fill it out to get different financial aid monies when it comes to going to universities. So talk with your counselors and have them talk with your parents to make sure they fill it out one time. And then what else can I say? Make sure you evaluate yourself. Try to pay attention to things that excite you, things you might be passionate about. Explore different things. You're in high school, you can explore a lot of different things. The world is really your oyster. Reach out to people, network, like really try to figure out what excites you, so you can kind of see where you want to go. If it's to the university, what major you want to pursue, but also if it's trade school, if you want to be a contractor, like you need to explore these different avenues. And high school is the best time for you to figure out who you are, so you know where you want to see your future.
Yeah, and just so we know a little bit more about you, I mean, how are things with you in school now? Because certainly it's been education has been different for a lot of students, and even college students, if you will, this virtual learning and everything. But talk to us a little bit about you now as a student, and how scholarship, of course, has been beneficial to you, but also your career goals and aspirations.
Right. So school is virtual, so I'm back at home. I'm in Detroit with my mom. It has been, I don't like virtual learning. It's not really that effective for me, but that I don't have an option to like go in person. But I'm saving a lot of money when it comes to like not renting in Ann Arbor, because Ann Arbor is like very expensive. So I'm you know, still taking, I'm taking like a full load of classes during my last semester, but being in Detroit, and not having to pay rent, like all of that money that I'm saving is going directly into my real estate investments, my real estate developments. And since I'm in my market right now, it's kind of easier for me to, you know, see the properties. Like in between classes, I go to my properties, I check in on the developments. And like I'm taking a lot of real estate classes now, so direct, like what I'm learning in class is directly related to what I'm doing in real life. So just like, and then, you know, with the University of Michigan, any university you go to, leverage your network. My teachers are developers. Like you just like, and they help me out, you know. So college is like a hack. You have to learn how to leverage it to your advantage. They're taking your money, so take what they have to give you to your advantage. But in order to do that, you have to figure out exactly where you like want to go. After graduation, more than likely we'll be working in corporate America, doing strategy, and also building my real estate company as well.
I love it. I love it. Closing remarks. We'll get to John. What is it that you would say, the advice that you would give parents and students when it comes to applying for college scholarships?
Again, start preparing now. Right now, if you still have a senior who's preparing for college now, or if you have a freshman who's in high school, like now is the time to start preparing. Do not wait to the last minute to start thinking about how you are going to get to college and how you're going to pay for college. The sooner, the better. And also, like if you have a younger student who is planning on going to college, have them be a part of like, you know, any summer enrichment programs, any pre-college programs, any like internships and things of that sort that helps enrich their experience and their understanding of the field that they possibly can go into. Those help tremendously. And again, it gives you more things to put on your college essay applications and your scholarship applications. But it all boils down to you have to prepare as soon as possible. And again, if you're a senior, it is not too late. There are still tons of scholarships that are out there. I'm doing a scholarship boot camp next week with some of my students. But you have to stay persistent and you have to stay positive. Even after you lose the scholarship, keep going forward.
All right. Gwen, we'll head off to you with final remarks.
Well, I'm going to encourage anyone out there who still needs help and who doesn't have a John Johnson to help them in their school. My book, The Parent's Smart Guide to Sending Your Kids to College Without Going Broke, is available on my website, freshperspectivesseminars.org. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram. The main issue that we've got to drive home with families is the college planning process. Students fall victim of college debt and college traps when they don't plan and they don't understand the high cost of financing a college education. So that's my closing remarks. We have a scholarship boot camp, the Spring Break Scholarship Boot Camp. You can find me on Facebook regarding that as well. That's coming up on April the 5th through April the 10th.
I love it. Well, a wealth of information and also solutions as well, solution driven to helping our Detroit students apply for scholarships to college and higher education, even trade school. And at the Michigan Chronicle, we want to be a resource. So this information is available for free. Just share this post to anyone you think that would be this will be a wealth of knowledge. And for more information on how to apply for our Michigan Chronicle TCF Bank SWAG Awards for college scholarships, just go to michiganchronicle.com/SWAG Awards. Again, that's michiganchronicle.com/SWAG Awards. It's been great being here with you this evening. Thanks so much for watching. And perhaps we'll revisit this conversation again because we want to be a wealth of knowledge and information to our students and how they can apply for college and and seek those financial opportunities. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. I'm Andre Ash with the Michigan Chronicle.